group D1. All right, so group D1 consists of Yuh Huei, Zachary, Joel, as well as Priya. And for reference, their question is,
Thank you, Clement.
Are we able to just start?
Yeah, Yuh Huei can start sharing the screen already.
sorry,
Yeah, okay.
So your presentation will be 10 minutes long. Then we have 10 minutes Q&A. I'll be timing. So once you start talking, the time will start. All right, thank you.
Sorry, I think one of our group mates has an issue. Zachary has an issue with the...
It's okay.
Oh, it's okay already? All right, okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Okay, good evening to everyone who's watching this stream. Hope you all are having a good day. Okay, next slide, please. I am Joel, and with me is Zachary, Yuh Huei, and Priya, and together we form the external cell D1. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Okay, for today's presentation, the main topic that we'll be giving is on the importance of soft skills in the workplace. We'll follow this up with the problem statement that we were given and how we went about collecting data for this case. After that, we'll have the proposed solution based off the data we have extracted, and we'll close the presentation with the conclusion of what we have shared. After that, we'll have a 10-minute Q&A section. So if you have questions, just feel free to ask us after the presentation. Okay, so let's first address what soft skills are. Soft skills are basically attributes that influence how well you can work and interact with others. Next slide. What does it do for us? Well, in the workplace, it enhances our relationship building with our colleagues and supervisors through the formation of trust and dependency. It also empowers us to lead others, and it ensures the efficient use of resources and have a smooth workflow in the workplace. All these are accomplishable through soft skills. And sorry, next slide. Some examples will be the communications, leadership, conflict management, and negotiation. Okay, our problem statement is the next slide. Yeah, as engineers, we tend to focus a lot on our functional and technical skills. And I'll admit, even myself, I also am guilty of this. But I just want to assure all fellow engineers that there's nothing wrong in doing so. Yeah, but however, we must place equal importance in building our soft skills too, as these skill sets are also key components of what employers look out for during interviews. Next slide. Oh, sorry. Okay. The external cell, which is what the four of us are running for, is in charge of creating opportunities for students like you to learn skills that is needed to ultimately ease the job securing process. Soft skills will be one of the areas that we have noted that is important and has been increasingly difficult to incorporate learning in the work from home environment. In order to propose the solutions, we first had to approach the students, which is from the engine body, to find out more about the general sentiment towards soft skills. And it is for us to better cater events or initiatives to serve you. Yuh Huei will continue more about the thought process on tackling this issue. Yuh Huei, please.
Okay, thank you, Joel. So to assess the real interest of the engine population, we rely on data to speak for us what skills are demanded and how its implementations will be effective. So we did a survey amongst engineering students, and extrapolating information from the data, a large number of us feel that our communication, resourcefulness, and leadership skills have room to improve on. And with a notable note that Year 3 and Year 4 students are particularly interested in business ethics and industry demand. So we also look into which platforms are the most useful mode for learning, and mentorships and workshops came up on top. So some common sentiments for this include like learning in smaller groups, improve attentiveness and effective communication. So it also provides more engagement and more hands-on practices. And the presence of supervision will simply provide accountability. Yeah. So moving on, we also found that so our population prefers in social media, particularly Telegram and Instagram, email blast, and word of mouth, with word of mouth came up as the top one. And now we have identified the problems and the available platforms to carry out the solutions. So I will pass the time to Zach.
All right, so before we move on into the solutions, let me first put out two factors that we must account for as we look and try and tackle the situation. So number one, soft skills are not something that you can learn in a single try, and it has to be built over a certain period of time. So it's something that you cultivate. The other one is the nature of how we are going to start learning these soft skills, which is on the online platform and telecommunication. Although it's definitely harder, it is something that we have to start adapting to, and we have to help our students get used to, because that is the way forward for the whole technological age to move as one. All right, so with these two factors being established, the two solutions the three solutions that my group has come up with is, number one, weaving these soft skills into everyday lessons. What I mean by this is that we can have teachers engage in more project-based learning or project discussions among students to allow them to have the opportunity to learn, to discuss, to communicate, and to lead one another in these small situations. And so they have a little bit more familiarity when they reach out into the job, when they are doing their job. The second one is when we have special online workshop, networking sessions, and one-to-one mentorships. As my groupmate Yuh Huei has pointed out, these workshops, networking sessions, and one-to-one mentorships generally have a rather small group sizing. This encourage a bit more engagement and interaction between people, so that way they can practice these soft skills as well. And what I mean by special is we can cater these ways of learning or these modes of learning to extend over a period of time, such that there's extra opportunities and something that we can allow students to build over time instead of just a one-off session. Finally, we aim to centralize the dissemination of information from Engine Club to students, or from professors to students, or from external parties to students. So what I mean by this is to empower students to begin to know what they don't know. So a big problem that a lot of freshmen face, or even sometimes seniors face, is that they don't know what they don't know, and they don't know where to begin. So once we get this information out to them, they know where to work towards, and they know what to sign up for. That way, we empower them to go forth and achieve their goals and make their goals a reality. So those are the three solutions that we have, and if not mutually exclusive, they can be used in conjunction with one another. So I'll be passing my time now to Priya.
Yeah. So for closing thoughts, what our group actually presented is basically a big picture overview of the process of dealing with the task that was given to us, was basically on the soft skills and like what exactly Engine students need. So the main difficulty at the start for us was to quantify the value of the soft skills itself needed as engineers, and more importantly, if there was actually even a gap for us to fill in the first place, because we understand that there are actually many other stakeholders like CFG and various department subclubs themselves who organize activities of their own that target industry and bringing in industry to the students. So it was important for us to know where we as Engine Club can actually add value. So some of the important points that we took note of in this whole process was the gathering of the data, because we needed to understand the need of the students first before we can give them what they need, and also the preferred modes of learning, for instance, as well as communication platforms. So for us, when we came to the three solutions that we brought up, so the first one being the weaving of the soft skills into everyday lessons, right? We understand that while some of these skills, things like communication, can actually be picked up when we have our own modules that require project work, etc. Some of the other more niche skills like business and enterprise isn't really something that you can pick up from lessons. So one possibility for it would be to take up your own modules, such as do it your own modules or edX modules. And things like resourcefulness and business ethics can actually be something that we can collate a database for and provide these list of modules to the students, because in that way we're actually able to quantify the need for that soft skill in terms of certification. And also for our second solution, which was on the online workshops as well as one-to-one mentorships, we were actually thinking of building upon our existing alumni network in Engine Club as well as Engine students. And this is where being in the external cell will actually come in handy, because the whole point is to build up alumni network. And this student mentorship will be actually something that would benefit both the students who are in Engine as well as our alumni. And that is what we are actually planning on hoping to bring forward if we're elected. So that's all for us for our closing thoughts. We will now move on to the Q&A. We welcome all questions. Thank you.
Okay, so Sam, you have 2 questions. You're also the first person anyway, so you can just ask the 2 questions at the same time.
Okay, so I have 2 questions. The first one is talking about the weaving soft skills into everyday lessons like business and enterprise, that statement, right? And like, yeah, the entire concept on that slide right now. So how will we be involved in facilitating this? And will it be student developed like DYOMs?
Perhaps I can shed some light on this. So yes, it can be done in conjunction with students, but it also has to be in conjunction with professors and also gathering information from the industry. So one, we have to understand what the industry actually needs. So maybe for the externals, when we talk to our external partners, we can get to know a little bit more about what they are looking for. So that way, professors, when they try and frame their lessons up, they can at least incorporate these little skills into as objectives of the lesson. And then for students, we also get to know what the students want. So in the respect, when you ask about DYMs, I think you mean like POCs, like points of contact, to actually gather this sort of information. That definitely can be, and we as externals can also serve as one of those people being out there to interact and gather information as part of the whole process of solving this problem.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, where we fit in is we are gathering like what the real world wants basically, and we're bringing it inside the student population. Okay, thank you. Then my second question is, when you talk about alumni mentorship, I'm pretty sure you've seen like Faculty of Engineering doing alumni mentorship, NOCs doing alumni mentorship, and all that, right? So like, firstly, why would alumni want to mentor in our team, like Engine Club context, and also, do we have any structure in mind?
Okay, I think I can take on this question. So when we actually discussed about this whole alumni mentorship prospect, we didn't really have any structure in mind because ultimately the decision will still require a fair bit of discussion from PISA, but more on the alumni itself, right? The reason why we think this will actually be helpful is because for companies, because when we're approaching our seniors or whoever alumni are, they're actually working for companies, and companies basically want 2 things, either user acquisition or talent acquisition. So in that capacity, what we can actually offer for these companies or whoever our seniors are working for is the whole talent acquisition portion. So if we're looking at things like webinars where they come in and provide or like give information about, oh, these are the skills that the industry is looking forward to. So what it actually helps is to establish a connection between the companies as well as the students. So what we're trying to do is to match these 2 groups together. And that's where the alumni can actually benefit because they are adding value to their company indirectly. And for us, it's about our students getting more information and better equipped with the skills that they need. So that's how we see that we can actually add value, as opposed to just having seniors come down and be like, oh yeah, you need to take these specific modules or work towards this specific internships to gain, I guess, experience for your future career. So these are more concrete examples. So that will really depend on how we work with companies in the future. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, you had a second question?
Yeah, so you addressed more on the alumni and the company side. Actually, I wanted to ask more about the student side. Because everyone knows engineering schedule is quite hectic. So how do you believe student leaders can actually convince the normal engineering students the need to commit to picking up soft skills as compared to just attending one-off workshops?
Okay, I think I can answer this. I think at the end of the day, when we are looking at our survey results, right, we're trying to find out like how these students actually sort of signed up for whatever initiatives that we have. Engine Club repairs, right? And we realized that most of them were drawn to like word of mouth, and we sort of understood because it's easier if a friend would pull you over because they trust you rather than trusting someone whom they are not very familiar with, right? So given the schedules of like engine students, we can always work on a target population which are already interested in such events and initiatives, and we'll do like a good event, like one with like of quality, such that we rely on them to spread the word for us basically, and to acquire new engine students.
If I may add, I think this also heavily relies on the point of view where we are trying to promote the better transmission of information amongst the whole student population. So like I said just now, students don't know what they don't know. Although they may think that soft skills are important, but how important is it? So if we are able to reach out to external parties and external partners that we have, to actually hear it from the horse's mouth to say that we actually look out for engineers that have these qualities in them, our students will be then more encouraged and feel more compelled to go forth and seek these skills and better improve themselves, to make them more in demand in the eyes of their employers. So that way there's a little bit more of a pushing force and get them to find time in their busy schedule to weave these soft skills into their skill set. Yeah.
Okay, Krish, do you have any follow-up for that? Or is that your question?
Okay, yeah. So in the previous year there was a push for a new initiative which was targeted at development of engineering students and also engineering student leaders. So there's a bit of disparity between student sentiment in terms of interest versus actual turnout rate. So that's why I was asking that question for the previous one. If you know about the previous efforts, maybe the next question is how you assess previous efforts of Engine Club to push for such initiatives.
I believe Krish is referring to the previous project, which is Elite, that some of my group members may or may not know about, but because given that they're actually freshies and I'm in year 3, I think I'll take over this question. So to answer this, basically about finding, okay, I think the biggest issue is not just about interest, but turnout rate itself, because whenever people hear about things that can add value to them, obviously they're interested. But the issue with the whole situation was turnout rate. So I think this is where we mobilize our own personal social networks first. And I think that's where we want people in a gym club to be not just outgoing, but people with who are willing to network and get to know other people. And that's where I think using our own individual networks comes in handy, because when we invite our friends to join these activities and these friends invite other people to join as well, and given that these activities are actually have merit and are actually value adding and not just sessions where we sit and hear from people, it's not just a passive process where we just gain stuff without actually doing anything or actively engaging with whoever it is that we're inviting. So I think if there was more engagement and things to pick up, then getting word of mouth out is actually much more easy for us, and to tap onto the networks that we have. And I think that's our first step, because at the moment that is the biggest issue. And given the survey results, while it may have been a relatively small group on our side, given that we only had a few days to collect the data, seeing that word of mouth is the biggest source of people attending events means that we need to actually work more on our network. Yeah.
Okay, Krish, do you have anything else?
No, I'm done. Thanks.
Okay, no, I think that will be the end of the Q&A session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for presenting.
All right, thank you again to Group D1 for presenting. And to find out more, you can check engineeringclub.com/elections for their write-up and nomination forms. Okay, next group. Yeah, let me